My stay in Paris was meant to be short and absolutely non-committal, not doing anything at all. And that's what I did. After my illness, I just felt I just needed to rest. So I essentially went out on the streets and reacquainted myself with particularly the 6th arrondissement. And everywhere I looked, there were signs of kind of economic turmoil and at the same time a sort of Paris as usual. I ended up walking over across the street from the burnt ruins of La Notre Dame. And I'm very familiar with this area. This is the 5th arrondissement. One of the things that I did see which struck me was I decided to go over to Shakespeare and Company, which always was a place where Americans would go. But evidently what has happened over the years is that it's become a tourist destination, meaning that this line of people is to get into the bookstore. And why? It's just a bookstore. Yeah, it's got a bit of history, but I actually found myself going around the corner, down a block, and ending up in another bookstore. And this bookstore filled my needs just as much as another classic French bookstore. And I had an interesting discussion with the manager. I don't think he was the owner of the place, but I always get a lot of cred when I walk into a store and ask for books on theater and puppetry, because undoubtedly they rarely have anything. And so I always seem like someone who knows a lot. I ended up at another bookstore near to where I lived. I went over and looked in it and did find some interesting books on their shelves. Now, their shelves were my ideal of what a shelf kind of looks like. Dark, with books in cloth and leather on it more than paper. No white shelving. Very nice. And so I went up on a ladder and looked around and found a couple of items. Now, one thing I did do while I was there was look for French music, and these are 3 of my finds while I was there. And the last night I looked down from my balcony at the Hotel La Louisiane, and it was a very Parisian scene. Sometimes this would get very noisy, but I didn't mind that because I wasn't there to rest as much as I was just there to not do much of anything. And there were a lot of little cafes and special grocery stores in the area. There was even a little Chinese shop there that had some pre-cooked, prepared items that I could get heated up and taken to my room. And of course, one of the main things I was doing there was looking for crepes, and I went to my favorite creperie over near Odeon. And finally, after 3 days, I did go to movies, bookstores, and such, just walking around. I ended up going down into the trains, taking the train to the Charles De Gaulle airport, which I used as a time to reflect on this trip. And one of the things I realized about this trip was in the future I would do things very differently. One thing I decided I would not do the next time I had to go to Alaska for the hopefully 3-week trip of loading a container. I wanted to say my container, but I don't have my container yet. Was that I wanted to just go straight back to Georgia. And I think part of the reason for that was that adding this extra European stuff, things I thought were a vacation, I got so worn down working with the stuff in my storage unit and doing all the walking in the snow and the rain and everything, that it just seemed that next time I do this, just do that and go back. And then next time I come to visit my friends in Europe, just do that. And don't do it during March, which is the swing season, which is when everyone gets colds and fevers and flus and such, and avoid that month. But having said that, it was an excellent trip, even if it was not a comfortable trip by any means. I wouldn't say this was an enjoyable trip. It was work in Alaska, lots of work to get to Alaska, lots of work to try to get the money together, of which I am so grateful for all the people who contributed. And now I need to spend that money responsibly on, well, I spent money, spent 2 years in advance on my storage costs. I am right now waiting for items that'll cost me several $1,000s in customs and in shipping fees. They are here now. But essentially, I realized there are things I really should do. I just need to be a little wiser. Also, to remember, I am no longer 25. I'm not even 50. Next time I travel, I will probably be about 70 next time I go to America. So, I have one more little stop, 20-hour layover in Athens, and that will be my last library diary, and we'll see you then.